Loneliness is part of the human condition. We will be lonely somewhere in our interior soul until we get to heaven. And then I promise you, it will be gone. There will be no more loneliness, no more sadness. Heaven will be like this, only we won't have anything hurting us. We won't be sore. We won't be sick. We won't be afraid. We won't be anxious. It'll be joyful. But loneliness is part of the human condition. So here's what we did. We're serving in the church. We're all working wherever we are. So we went around the room and we asked everybody to say, how does it feel to be a married man in the lay apostolate? How does it feel to be a married woman in the lay apostolate? How does it feel to be a single mother in the lay apostolate? How does it feel to be a priest in the lay apostolate? And what we got were themes. Everybody said some of the same things, and this is what everybody said. Well, I feel lonely. Well, I don't fit in anywhere else. I don't have friends anymore. We all said, I really don't have much of a social life. We were all having the same experience. The Lord was calling us from the world to serve in the world. But we don't fit in. We don't fit in the world because we're ordered towards heaven's goals. That's okay. Being lonely doesn't mean there's something wrong with your life. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with your marriage. People have an attitude about marriage that it should fulfill every single emotional need. Oh, please. Who could do that for someone else? Only God can do that, other than Kevin. Now, we're not going to ask Crystal how she feels about that. There's nothing wrong with your vocation just because you're lonely. It just means you're human. And this is why we have to be so reverent about each other, because we don't know where each other's sore spots are. We don't know where everybody's hurting. None of us know the pain of another. So we have to be very reverent. So that's our lay apostolate. So we're all experiencing some of the same things. Now, I want to talk for a second about vocations. One of the things that's clear to me is that single people underestimate how important they are in the church. Single people tend to think, maybe they're tempted to think they're just killing time until they find their vocation. But you could die killing time. God needs your service now. The single people are so critical. In our apostolate, we can say to the single people, go to this place, go to Houston, go to the Philippines, and they can go. They have great graces. Now, people might say if they're not called to be a priest or a nun, there's nothing else. And then they would think that they're not doing anything till they're married. So if you're single, understand Christ needs your service right now. Don't spend so much time looking for the right person. Spend all your time becoming the right person. Because if you don't become the right person won't pick you. You want Christ's plan. You want Christ's spouse. You want a sacramental union. We have to aim for this. So you have to spend your energy becoming the right person. Pope John Paul II said to young people, to single people, be yourself. Be your beautiful self. Because the more united you get to Christ, the freer you are to be yourself. The more you discover who you are. So that's single people. God needs them, we need them. Now, for religious sisters, it's important for religious sisters to be all about their husband, Jesus Christ. They are married to Jesus. And it's such a beautiful marriage, as we commented this morning. I'm also a wife. Oh, this friend of mine, Mother Teresa from Denmark, said she said, for a young woman called to religious life has to have a desire to be a wife and a mother because she will be married to Jesus and she will be a mother to many. So a religious sister should have a desire to be a wife and a mother, and then she marries Jesus. In my own marriage, I can be tempted to be all about the work and not about my husband. And that's a temptation because my first priority must be loving my husband. In the same way, a religious sister has to be all about Jesus Christ, all about unity to him. Has to be about her husband first, and then about her husband's interests. Obedience is so important. It's so important, and it's so obvious that you would think that we would see temptations against obedience coming. Isn't it true? You would think this would be obvious to us, but it tricks us. Religious sisters have to be accepting of obedience to their superior, because this is how it happens. God has to put someone in charge, right? Someone has to lead. So what I see is the Lord puts the vision for the order in the heart of the superior. And then she has to go. She has to execute. The sisters need to be obedient in her, behind her. Will she make mistakes? Of course. The Lord isn't going to look at that when he looks at whether or not a sister was obedient. If you have a breakdown in obedience, you have disunity. And then you have the whole plan stalling. The whole thing is stuck in the doldrums when you have disunity. It's the same in our parish. Jesus is so consoled by his religious sisters. He's so consoled. He counts on them so much. He draws graces from their vocation for the whole world, for all of us. It's very beautiful. What they're doing really is just living ahead of their time. They're like jumping over this and going straight to a heavenly kind of existence. Now, the priesthood, as far as priest goes, in the priesthood, God places a great love for all of his children. When a priest is ordained, I can see that a slice of divinity is permanently put in his soul. And that opens him up to this love for all of God's children. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Most priests will experience their service as hard work. And most priests, I believe, in what I can see, are disconnected from the power that Christ flows through them. I was at a funeral of a priest once in the diocese, and I was praying for him, and I was sad for him because he suffered before he died, and the Lord said, why do you feel sorry for him? Let me show you what God has prepared, what has been prepared for him. And before he died, I could see in heaven, the Lord showed me all these people assembling. There were thousands of them. And there was great joy and talking and comparing stories and this and that. And what they were doing was preparing to welcome the priest home to heaven and celebrate his life. This priest had no idea how profoundly he, by transmitting God's grace to the people through the sacraments, had impacted them. He had no idea. And after I saw this, I wasn't sad for this priest anymore. I was very excited for him. And I thank God that he was nearly finished and that he had served so faithfully and persevered. So, a priest said to me one time, he was talking to my husband at length, and he said to me later, I just love to talk to dads. He said, I learned so much about being a good priest from talking to dads and fathers. That priest really got it.